Good morning and welcome to the Professional Pastors. And this is your show host, Miss Diane Winbush, coming to you live with a live tape recording. And thank you so much for being our guest on today. Don't forget about the upcoming events that we have for the community, and you can get that information from www.stpetersburgglobalministries.org. And you can be able to find additional resources and tools that we are doing in the community. But today we have a special guest with us, and her name is Lakeisha Mallet, and she's going to come in and give us some very great resources and tools in regards to her business and to be able to help you to be able to be a part of what she is doing for the public. So good morning, Lakeisha, and welcome to the show.
Good morning, and thank you so much for having me.
Great. So let's jump right into it, and tell us a little bit about you.
Wonderful. Well, my name, as you said, is Lakeisha Mallet. I currently reside in Charlotte, North Carolina. I am a minister in the African Methodist Episcopal Zion Church. A lot of people refer to us as the AME Zion Church. I have worked with young adult ministry for the past 10 years, and currently I am doing more strategic planning with churches, helping them to develop growth strategies as we see that the trends for church ministries are changing. I'm working to help churches identify how their congregations can be a part of that change and remain relevant to the current communities that they serve.
Awesome. So what was your passion to drive you to in the field as a lead consultant? Because, a lot of times let's see how I can word this. Sometimes we as Christians, sometimes we feel that success is just not the proper place for Christians, but Christians can be successful. They can be able to have a business. They can be able to run a business, and they can be CEOs of companies. Is really, we supposed to be in those, according to the Bible, we supposed to be in those fields anyway leading out. So what was it compels you to be able to drive this passion through for others?
Well, I definitely see it as a calling. It's very interesting because I believe that God has given me the gift to see other people's visions. And so when I work with my clients, whether it's starting a business, starting a nonprofit, or working with pastors to execute the visions that they have for their church, once someone describes to me what it is that they see themselves doing, God has just blessed me with the ability to help them create a plan to execute and to make it become a reality. And like you said, I think a lot of people think that as ministers, we're supposed to do this work for free. But I tell people I have a 13-year-old son who eats every day and needs clothes every day. And so I feel that it's fair for me to be compensated for the work that I do. And most of the people that I work with have absolutely no problem with that because they see the results from the work that we're doing. But I was initially driven to start my company because I realized that there aren't a lot of people who work in the spaces of working with small business owners and small nonprofits. So a lot of times when people are starting these organizations, they're starting based on like information that they get from Google or something that someone like their friend or family member has told them based on their personal experience. And they don't always have a consultant who's been doing this work for 14 years to go to and say, hey, how do I start a business or how do I get my nonprofit started? So I like to believe that my consulting firm is filling that void.
Awesome. Because even with that, it's not for free.
Right.
The scripture teaches us it is he that gives us power to get this wealth. So wealth got to be able to come back as a ROI investment for the individual. So it's not for free. People, spend countless hours of building platforms and organizations and conglomerates, actually, for what it is that they have studied for or what their passion is. And people, we just cannot give things out for free constantly all the time. So, even with that, with consulting, that's based as a counselor as well, too. But at the same time, we should be willing to reward others for the talents and gifts that they do have. So, my hat is off to you. You have a
thank
consulting
you.
group that impacts churches and not just churches, also for entrepreneurs as well. And so that's good. Where it's like an open brand that you have. It's just not just for religious individuals, but it's also for individuals that pursue in a secular field as well. So tell us a little bit about Womack Consulting Group. So take, for instance, if an entrepreneur was to walk up to your door or to your place of business, what would they expect coming on board as trying to obtain information or some sort of strategic plan for you for business or for ministry?
Okay, so the first thing I do is I offer a complimentary consultation to anyone who's interested in working with me. And I tell people that that's as much for you to find out if you want to work with me as it is for me to find out if I can work with you. Because the reality is some people are not receptive to advice. So it doesn't matter how many times you tell them what they need to do, they're just not going to take action. And I don't believe in taking people's money if we're not going to be able to see results. So during that consultation, they're able to tell me about whatever the vision that they have or whatever it is that they're trying to achieve. And then I can see, one, do I have the skill set to help them? Because sometimes what they're trying to do, I'm not able to help them, or someone on my team doesn't have that skill set to help them. So we figure out, what exactly are you trying to achieve and what tools or resources are necessary to put that plan into action. And from there, I'll send them a proposal. So I sit down and I pray about it. I tell all of my clients, I am a woman of faith, and so I pray over all of my clients. I pray over every project. I pray over every book I write, because I truly believe that if God is not in it, from my perspective, then I'm nothing. I can't achieve anything without God being in it. So once I send them the proposal, then they have a choice to either, say, okay, yes, this is the direction that we want to move in. Or sometimes people will say, I'm not ready to make the financial commitment. I'm not ready to make the time commitment, or what have you. And I always say, I operate in God's time. And so I've had people to receive a proposal, and they'll come back 6 or 9 months later and say, hey, I'm ready to get started. Or even some people will get started on a project, and then we'll have to stop because God may have given them the vision and gotten them started, but sometimes He has to stop you to grow you so that you can take those next steps. So I work with people from where they are to help them get to where they need to be over as much time as they need. Some people have taken 2 or 3 years from the time that we start a plan until they're able to come back. And I always tell them, I'm here. Whenever you need me, whenever you're ready to get to work, I'm here. And I found that to be a very effective business model for my firm.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I like that strategy that you have where you give the individuals, a comprehensive time frame to be able to start and begin working with your services, because sometimes people may not even know what the next step is even after you have mentioned it to them, as well as to what you were stating, that sometimes, you want to make sure that any time that we engage with any type of business proposals or anything like that, we want to make sure that the individual understands that this is serious. We don't. This is something that we don't play with. This is not something where you come in and you get it for free. You got to want to make sure that you have a mindset that is, ready to go forward, and also it has to be made up. In terms of this is something that I want to do. I may not have all the financial stability at this time, but this is something that I need to be able to have. We just got off a former previous podcast with our women business show, and so the entrepreneur, she gave so many tips and tools in regards to entrepreneurs being willing to just make a step. And sometimes I think that we get fearful, and that's the reason why we created this platform on a Christian level for individuals, so they can know that they can be successful too. This is just not something where people can come in and preach and speak in tongue. No, this is something where individuals can be able to come in and they can know that they are winners as well on both sides, on God's side as well as making your own revenue. That is empowered. That's empowered, that what you're doing and what you're providing. So to the next question, we learned, through your research and through your packet that you have also some experience with the Chamber of Commerce, and you have also worked with them. So I think that's also important too, because individuals, when they reach out to firms such as yours, they want to be able to learn a little bit more about the background. So tell us just a little bit about your experience as working through the Chamber of Commerce.
Okay. Well, I've actually had my consulting firm for 14 years now, and I've worked with the Chamber of Commerce through the Women's Business Center. So when I lived in South Alabama, the Women's Business Center had a grant where we were going into rural counties and through the Chamber of Commerce providing seminars, and I would give one-on-one consultation services to women and men who were interested in starting a business, because they really wanted to ensure that people in those areas, because if you're in a metropolitan area, you have access to a lot more resources than you might if you're in a small rural area. So they wanted to ensure that people in those rural counties also had access to that information. So I've served as a technical assistance partner with the Small Business Administration to help people with their business plans to go get an SBA loan. I worked with the Birmingham Business Resource Center as a technical assistance partner for people who were interested in getting capital infusions into their business. And next month, I'll actually be an executive coach with the Black Enterprise Conference. So attendees to the conference will be able to schedule one-on-one time to talk with me about their business while they're at the conference. So I've been extremely blessed to be able to operate in spaces where others are covering my fees, so that the people who need access to me but may not have the ability to pay for it themselves are able to get those tools and resources from me. I truly believe that starting a business or running a successful business, it helps you to be a better steward in the kingdom, because I always say, you can't be a blessing to someone else if you're always looking for a blessing. And so in order for us to be able to give back to others, we have to put ourselves in the position where we can give. And so often, because of our humility, and as Christians, we think that, that humble means broke. But it doesn't. You can have humility and still have wealth. And so when we're able to develop wealth and to have a wealth mindset and to operate out of our abundance, then we're able to give back to those who are less fortunate.
Well stated. I don't have to say anything else behind that. So let's shift gears here, and let's talk about your book. We want to learn a little bit more in depth about you and about the resources and tools that you have to offer for Christians and non-Christians, and ways that individuals can be able to connect with your brand so they can be a little bit more successful in what it is that they're doing. So you have a book called Speak Up, and it's one of Amazon's bestsellers, and so we want you to elaborate on that and share with the listeners about some takeaways that you think that they should be able to obtain or ascertain from your book.
Okay, so Speak Up is actually a collaborative project that I also served as the project manager on, and it was through the Black Speakers Network, and the founder of the organization had an idea to bring together 32 of the top speakers in the country to provide advice for people who want to make speaking as a business, because a lot of people do speaking engagements and they're either speaking for free or they're not really charging what they could be charging, because there are a lot of organizations that have a budget for speakers. But when you don't treat your speaking as a business, then sometimes you're leaving money on the table. And so he asked us all to come together and to write a chapter, and my chapter was about creating multiple streams of revenue through your speaking business. And what I essentially help people to understand is not only is your speaking, when you're actually on stage making the presentation, a revenue source, but there are other ways that you can generate revenue, whether it's through selling merchandise. So for one of my books, I have T-shirts and a coffee mug. It could be through selling online courses. So one of my books, there's actually a leadership circle, which is a membership-based organization that people can join. or it could be through doing workshops or doing like online webinars. So I have a financial literacy series where I do a lot of workshops based on those books. So it just helps you to identify that as a speaker, you can't, if you want to make that your full-time gig, you can't just rely on standing on stage and making a presentation for revenue, but that there are other ways that you can generate revenue.
Absolutely. It was a social media group that I was attached to, I don't know, a few years ago, and it was in regards to a speakers group. And so some of the top entrepreneurs, that has 2,000-3,000 individuals that will appear for their speaking gig. And so that was one of their concepts. I think they were giving feedback to the additional entrepreneurs that were on that platform group in regards to, you have to move around a little bit, because sometimes when individuals have speaking gigs and they make public speaking their lifestyle, you still have to have something else to be able to attach with it, in regards to just sitting there, just waiting for the phone to ring for someone to call you, and it's 20 other million public speakers that are out there. And so, sometimes we can become, I guess, closed-minded, if I could be able to use that term. We can be closed-minded in terms of we just think that it's going to just fall out. It's going to fall from heaven. The doors are just going to open. No, we have to be up, and we have to be making other strategic moves to be able to impact that. And so the platform was very, very resourceful, and there were experts on the platform as well to be able to give those that had just came into the speaking field a lot of information in regards to how to receive speaking engagements, proposals, this, that, and the other. So I thought that was very impactful as well. And so the next question I would like to ask, and I think you kind of touched on it a little bit, and while you began to speak about it, I said, oh, she already took the next question away from me. But anyway, so speak to us and share with us about the Lakeisha's leadership circle, the tiers, and the important factor of each tier and the benefit that they could be able to get out of it, because sometimes when we join anything, we can join a fellowship, we can join a networking event, we can join a club or what have you. Sometimes we start at the bottom and things, but I feel sometimes that we can be able to get the maximum growth out of whatever it is that we're seeking once we start with the main ingredient. And sometimes you may have to go to the platinum or the bronze or the gold package in order to see results. If that, because sometimes people want to see results immediately. You're not going to see them if you're ordering the basics. You have to maybe have to go to the tall platform. So share with us a little bit about your tiers and the purpose of the reason why you created the membership pool for individuals.
Okay. Yeah, so, I have people reach out to me very often about mentoring them or just helping them to, not necessarily through consulting, but they just need kind of like that nudge, or they need someone to keep them motivated to achieve their goals. And I truly believe that leaders create leaders. Leaders should not be out seeking other people to follow them. And I believe that everything that God has blessed me with, he hasn't blessed me with it for myself, but he's blessed me with it to pour into others. And so I was kind of racking my brain, like thinking, how do I do this in addition to all the other things that I have going on so that it makes sense? And so that's what made me create Lakeisha's Leadership Circle. And there are 4 different levels. And so like you said, at the main level, that's for people who are in a position where they want to work with me one-on-one. So they get a 30-minute, once-a-month, one-on-one coaching call with me, and that's just where we talk about what are their goals, what are they trying to achieve. And it's interesting because so often we have goals that we might write down or we might tell a friend, but when you work with a professional coach, that person can not only hold you accountable, but they can also make sure that you have the resources that you need to achieve whatever that goal is. So one of the people in the leadership circle said, hey, I want to do more public speaking. And so I helped her to develop a speaker sheet. I helped her to figure out, her branding for her website. And she posted her speaker sheet online yesterday and got a speaking engagement within 30 minutes of posting it. So when you work with someone who has already kind of been down the road that you're trying to go down, then they can give you the tools and the resources. And again, you know, I could be doing that work for free, but I have to monetize these gifts so that I can continue to be a blessing to others. We also allow people to participate in our monthly book club. So each month we read a book around leadership. This month we're reading Stacey Abrams' book. I can't think of the name of it because she changed the name, but it walks through her life story and how she became who she is in the state of Georgia as, you know, a former candidate for governor. And she just really talks about what it means to be a woman in leadership and all the struggles that she went through and how she got her seat at the table, which is fascinating. So we read books each month, and then we also do a mastermind call. And that's where we all kind of come together and talk about whatever the issues are that we're dealing with. And I kind of guide the conversation and help to, one, make sure that they don't feel alone, so that everyone who's in the leadership circle understands that, hey, we're all trying to be better. We're all trying to grow. And then I make sure that they have the tools and, again, the resources that they need to continue moving forward, because I'm all about forward motion. If you're not growing, then you're probably dying. Your business is probably dying. Your personal life is probably dying because you're not growing and you're not changing. So I like to see people taking steps forward to ensure that they're not moving backwards. And so from the levels below that, just kind of take away, you know, some of the benefits. And, of course, we have the free level. And I don't knock people for joining the free level because some people just aren't in a financial position to make that investment in themselves yet. And I always say yet because, like you said before, you should never get stuck in that I want everything for free mindset, because you're never going to reach your full potential. But people who join at the free level, they're able to get a weekly motivational message and a worksheet that helps them to work on their leadership skills and to really identify who they are as a leader and how they can become a better leader.
That's just too powerful. Okay. But that is also awesome that individuals can be able to ascertain the resources and information through a leadership circle that you have for individuals, because there is so much that's out there for individuals to be able to start, to grow, and even to advance, you know, in any type of ministry, any type of business, any type of niche that they are trying to, you know, pursue. So share with us any publications, as the time is about to wind down. Share with the listeners about any publications that you have that are coming up, any events that you have, or any live events that you perhaps maybe offer to the community, whether it's paid or whether it's free. You can share that at this time.
Okay, perfect. Well, I've actually authored 14 books at this point. So you can go on Amazon and just Google my name and, put a search in for my name, and you'll see all the books. Or if you want an autographed copy, you can go to my website, Womack, C as in consulting, G as in group.com, and check out the bookstore to see all of the books that I've written. I love to write. I love to share information. I love to share resources. So the books cover a broad spectrum of topics. In addition to the Speak Up book, we have Unlynched, which is an economic empowerment doctrine for African Americans. We have journals through popular scripture. So we have journaling through the fruits of the Spirit, journaling through the armor of God, and we're finishing up journaling through the Lord's Prayer, the 23rd Psalm, and scriptures dealing with love in 1 Corinthians. There's also, like I said, a financial literacy workbook series. There's a workbook for kids, for teens, and for adults, so that families can learn how to budget, save, and invest money together. Because a lot of times parents don't teach their kids about money because they don't know about money. Mm-hmm. So I've written a ton of books on just all the experiences that I get and that I learn from. If God blesses me with the ability to package that into some type of resource. And most of the books range between $10 and $20 so that they're affordable, because I believe that, knowledge has to be shared. And I want to make sure that it's shared in a way that, people aren't like, oh, my God, like, how am I going to pay for that? And then, of course, I have, speaking engagements coming up, so feel free to check me out on social media, and you'll be able to see all the different events that I'm speaking at. June and July are typically my heaviest months, so I think I travel about 30, about 30 out of the 60 days in those 2 months. So I will be all over the country and look forward to meeting your listeners. So if you see me somewhere, don't feel shy to just come up and say hello or to give me a hug. I'm a hugger. I definitely, love to engage with people and just, to hear stories and to share whatever information that they might be looking for.
That's awesome, because that is so important, just being a listener to individuals. Yeah. And of course, that's another reason and purpose, the reason why we have different things, podcasts and what have you, and publications for our communities as well as for the public, is to be able to listen to them. Sometimes people just want you to hear what they have to say. Some people just want to be heard, and so that's the purpose of us being able to share that, because a lot of times people don't even know about the resources that is out there for them, so they can be able to grow. So the last question that we have for you, Ms. Womack, is how can the listeners connect with you? As far as social media platforms, as far as your booking site, as far as your website that you would like to share with the listeners, how can they be able to connect with you or work with you?
Wonderful. Well, I'm a branding consultant also, so whenever a new social media platform pops up, the first thing I do is go and reserve my name. So on all social media platforms, if you search Lakeisha Womack, LakeishaWomack, then I'll pop up. I'm on Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, Snapchat, you name it, I'm on there. So I'd love to connect with my followers, and I definitely respond to comments. So I'm not one of those people that if you comment, then you have to wait like 10 years to see if I'm going to say something back to you. You have questions, comments, concerns, anything. And if I find that it's inappropriate, because, sometimes I think people get turned off by commenting because people say stuff that they deem inappropriate. So if I think something is out of line, I'm the type of person, I'm going to tell you. It's none of your business, or, I don't feel comfortable answering that, or we might just take the conversation offline. So, and that's just, the reality. When you have, like, thousands of people following you, you have to protect your privacy in some instances and let people know, like, what's public and what's private. So ask me anything. I'm not going to guarantee you that I'm going to answer it in front of everyone, but we can always, take the conversation offline. If you're interested in booking me for an event, I do leadership development training. I specialize in working with teams, especially fractured teams and new teams. You can go to booklakeisha.com. For the leadership circle, you can go to lakeishasleadershipcircle.com. And then for the consulting, it is womackcg.com. So if you just if you Google Lakeisha Womack, I promise you will find everything you need to know about me.
Awesome. With just the small, I guess, nuggets that you have shared on today, I'm pretty sure that the speaking engagements are just more filled with more tons of resources, because that shows me and tells me that an individual has been anointed for what it is that they're doing. If you go to a coffee shop and they give you grains and they don't know that you're supposed to brew the coffee, you already know that they're in the wrong classroom. So this just tells us, it gives the listeners a little bit more strength, or a little bit more accuracy, about what it is that you do. And this is also a helpful impact for them, so they can be able to connect with you even more better. See, because if you can't stop talking, that means you're perfected in what it is that you do. If you offer limited information, people may be a little skeptic about, coming, to be able to do services with individuals. But today, you have mastered it all.
Thank you.
And we're so thankful that you do. tuned in with us today, and we're so thankful that you were our guest on the show, and you have provided so much for the listeners, and we really appreciate it. And as far as the listeners are concerned, for all upcoming events with St. Petersburg Global Ministries, you can go to our website, of course, at www.stpetersburgglobalministries.org, and then there you can be able to find who's going to be on the podcast next, and also you can be able to find upcoming events that we will be doing in the community. So thank you so much, Ms. Womack, for being our guest on the podcast today. It was a pleasure having you with us.
Thank you so much. You have a wonderful rest of the day.
And you do the same. Thank you.
Thank you.